First, we have Brother Talal Itani. He is a Lebanese American author, translator, and entrepreneur. He was born in Lebanon in 1961 and grew up in Beirut. He received his education in both the Middle East and the United States, earning a degree in electrical engineering. In 1983, Talal Itani founded a software development company in the United States, which became very successful. However, his passion became the Quran, and he began to pursue this passion seriously in the mid 1990s. He is best known for his English translation of the Quran, which he completed in 2012. The translation has received widespread acclaim for its accuracy, clarity, beauty, and accessibility. Brother Itani currently resides in the United States, where he continues to develop software and translate the Quran. Welcome, Brother Talal. Thank you so much for being here. I look forward to your presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for being here. I studied the Quran by listening to it in Arabic and reading English translations. And really, this was my only way of studying and learning the Quran. I was living in the United States. I wasn't connected with any schools or any scholars. So I would just get the Quran on cassette tapes by different reciters, listen to it daily, day after day, month after month, and at the same time, reading the English translations, also going from one translation to another. And I did that for very many years. At the same time, I was doing dawah. I mean, I really fell in love with the Quran. It blew my mind away, and I was determined to share it with others, my family, neighbors, people who I know. And I was doing da'wah by giving copies of the Quran, as well as sharing verses with them. I mean, I saw that the Quran can have information that is so specific. I mean, miraculously specific to something happening today in my life or in the lives of others. So I was determined to know where these verses are and take them to the person. So because I live in the United States and everyone around me, basically, they're English speaking, including my family, I had to convey everything in English. And through the years, I exposed myself to every English translation that I was aware of. And as a result, I knew the strength and the weaknesses of the translations. And really, every translation impressed me, yet every one of them, in my opinion, I saw a weakness in it, a weakness that disappointed me. And that was 10 years ago. I was, for a period of time, giving da'wah at a jail. And I was also offering them copies of the Quran and also giving a class and having one-on-one talk. And one time I was giving this inmate a copy of the Quran. And in my heart, I was apologizing to him. I was giving him a copy that I could barely understand. I mean, the English language is so difficult, Old English, complicated sentences, exotic vocabulary. I left the jail really disappointed with myself, disappointed that I was unable to find a translation that is very easy to read and at the same time, very accurate. So with time, I became able, and it was like a dream at the beginning. It was a thought, but I knew I was incapable of taking the Quran from Arabic and put it in English. And I kept reading and studying and reading and studying and memorizing and listening and reading until I decided to basically take the Quran and port it from Arabic to English. And that was my purpose. As it is in Arabic, as you read a book in Arabic, now we're going to read the same book in English. So in my opinion, what's a good translation? Well, it should be in the English you speak today. I mean, now I'm speaking with you in English. I'm not speaking in exotic English. I'm not speaking in biblical English. I'm not speaking in the English that was used 500 years ago. This is the English we should translate the Quran into. It should be clear and easy to read. So say you go to the bookstore or to the store and you buy a novel. you don't struggle to understand it. You don't focus on the language. You don't try to decipher the meaning. You don't go and buy a dictionary to understand what the novelist meant. You just read it. And in my opinion, a translation of the Quran should be the same way. It should be smooth to read. It shouldn't interrupt you with anything in parentheses. The sentences should be simple. Okay, so there are ayahs in the Quran that are very long. And if you translate that ayah without punctuation, basically it becomes very hard to understand. The reader will have to look for the beginning of the concept and the end of the concept and break the sentence on his own, on her own, and that's very difficult to do. Yet, alhamdulillah, the Quran has where you pause. And I used that to break the long sentences into smaller sentences. Basically, punctuation was very, very, very important to me. And it's still very important. I used common vocabulary. I've been living in the United States for 44 years, and I counted them today. So I know if a word is used or not. I know if a word is popular or not. I know how popular a word is. So basically, any word that is not popular, I did not use it. Because if it's not used, others will not be able to read and understand the translation. And of course, accuracy is important, highly important. You know, when we're translating, we're relaying a message. And if we mistranslate, we are being dishonest. And of course, we should not be dishonest. And while translating, I got tempted multiple times to basically, you know, push the meaning one way or another. And I really reminded myself. And then, of course, the decision is to keep the meaning as is, regardless. And sometimes I had a choice, clarity versus accuracy. And of course, accuracy always overruled. In my opinion, when we're porting a message from one language to another, we should not interpret, we should not explain, and we should not clarify. So if an ayah or if a message in the Quran is not very clear, I kept it not very clear. If it's ambiguous, I kept it ambiguous. I did not put anything in parentheses in order to clarify the meaning, because I think this is to be avoided. So I tried as much as I can to keep it as is. And I have no agenda to push. I live in the United States. I'm not connected with organizations. I'm not connected with governments. I'm not very well even connected with people. I work on my own. And I don't have an agenda to push. And as a result, I did not push any agenda. And people have told me, wow, your translation is not sectarian. That was a while back. And I asked them, you know, what do you mean it's not sectarian? And one person really explained it to me. He said, you're not pushing an agenda on anyone. So that's good. As much as possible, it should be free for others to distribute and to republish. And I did that. So all the files are there on my website, clearquran.com, in multiple versions, in multiple file formats. People are free to distribute it, even to reprint it without my authorization. So to other translations, if this is possible, you know, it's a plus because it can make more people read the Quran. Yesterday, we debated whether the word Allah can be used. No, not the word Allah, whether the word God can be used in a translation, or should we stick with the word Allah? And it's a debate, and both sides have good points. What I did, I have the translation in both editions. Even printed, there is a God version, I call it God version and Allah version. And on the website, a person can drop down and choose whether he reads in the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful, or read in the name of God, the gracious, of the merciful. Something else I noticed about the English language, something I learned about the English language. The English language evolves through time. So take a book written 100 years ago in English, it's a different English, slightly different. Take a book written 200 years ago, it is very different. I have the Bible published in year 1611, and I cannot read it. It's in English, it's in whatever they call it, some English, but it is unreadable today. So because the English language evolves, a translation should evolve. So an English translation that was good 50 years ago, in my opinion, today, basically, it's not to be read.
Brother Talal, you have less than a minute left, just giving you a heads up.
Thank you so much. So basically, my idea is my translation does evolve through time, should evolve through time, and I did evolve it through time. Especially because some things in the Quran can be understood differently by different people in different periods of time. So a translation should not be frozen in time, should always evolve. And take my translation today. If it doesn't evolve in 10 years, throw it away, because in my opinion, it's no longer any good. Okay, something else regarding the printed book. You open the Quran in Arabic, it has no introduction, it has no foreword, and it has no preface. You open it, and here is Al-Fatiha, and this is wonderful. This is what the person reads first, Al-Fatiha, the word of Allah. And my translation is the same way. I have no introduction, no foreword, no preface. The person opens, and here is Al-Fatiha, and I think this is positive. I did use technology. I did use AI to check the grammar. Is the Quran translatable? That's debatable. I can find verses, show you verses that cannot be translated, but that's a different subject. And thank you so much, and I appreciate you listening, and may Allah bless you and bless all those who organized this conference.